live long and prosper. So we had the season 2 of Discovery debut yesterday. This is a show that's been plagued with controversy. The first season is just all over the place. Some good episodes, some great episodes, and then some episodes that are just terrible. You know, I've really been on the fence with this show. There's some things that I really like about it, and there's other things that I just don't like about it. The violations in canon, and the tech is too advanced for the time period, and just some really poor writing. They've really made an effort to make this show as an action piece, you know, to attract new fans in and to get people's attention. And the thing is that Star Trek is not an action piece. Yes, there are some episodes with some action in it, and definitely there's some action in the movies. But Star Trek is not about action. It's not about a dumb, stupid popcorn movie. It's about people. It's about in-depth storytelling, intellectual storytelling. And it has a certain tone and a certain atmosphere that makes it very mature. And it's something that you can really get invested in. So I started watching Star Trek when I was 8. I grew up with it. My parents introduced it to me. I started watching reruns of TNG. And that is my favorite series. I think that TNG is one of the best Star Trek series that has been made. Of course, I like all of them. Enterprise is one that I had to grow to like, but now I actually really like it. Before I couldn't really get into it. I thought that it was very boring and very poor writing in it. But now Star Trek Enterprise is something that I really enjoy, and I actually own it as well on Blu-ray. I own all the series. I have the original Enterprise and TNG on Blu-ray. Of course, Voyager and Deep Space Nine on DVD, because they have not released it on Blu-ray or seem to have any plans in the future of doing an HD remaster, which I hear is very expensive and a lot of work to do, so it's not looking likely that we'll ever see something like that, other than seeing some HD footage from the new DS9 documentary that's coming out. Season 2 of Discovery, the season premiere called Brother, you know, it was good. It was a good episode. I thought that overall they did a good job with it. I love the cinematography of the episode, the way it was shot, especially... and just, I'll say that spoilers, that there will be spoilers in this episode. This is not a spoiler-free, so if you have not seen this episode, do not continue watching this video until you've seen it, and then come back and check it out. So, I loved the way it was shot. I loved showing Saru walking through the hallway from space, looking through the windows. I thought that was really cool. I thought the cinematography was a lot more like Star Trek. We got to see more of the Discovery ship, a lot of pass-bys and seeing it flying through space, where in Season 1 we saw it very sporadically. Don't like the fact that the Enterprise has been remodeled, and I heard that either some legal issues or some orders from the top forced the designers to redesign the Enterprise model. Now it's mostly the same, but it's not canon. It's not what the Enterprise looks like. Although I love the modern take, like, I think the ship looks really cool, the way that they've designed it, but there's just no reason why they couldn't have updated the look of the ship for today's times and have it look that good, but still keep the original design. And, you know, they could play around with it a bit, but I don't know. There's no reason why they can't update the look and the tech without also respecting the original work. It seems to be a very big struggle of the new writers and the designers on the show. I know that the show has been plagued with a lot of politics behind the scenes, and I don't really want to get in too much about that right now, but the show has had a lot of problems, and Star Trek is not without controversy. Even the original show was faced with a lot of politics because of the issues, and the content that they had at the time was very radical and very controversial. Because Star Trek has always been a social and political commentary on our life. And when you're challenging that, it creates enemies. And that's what Star Trek has always been about. It's about challenging the status quo and bringing attention to these issues, but not in a necessarily a forced way like Discovery is doing. Discovery is sort of like, well, here's a bunch of things happening, and let's make sure we get in this social justice issue in there, and let's just throw that in everybody's face and rub their faces in it, and here's your action piece. And that's basically what Discovery is doing. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some very good scenes in Discovery and storytelling, but it just, and maybe it's the fact that the show's been plagued with a lot of problems, and and I think most of the season ones of Star Trek are usually kind of rough, and there's some good episodes in there, but it's go back, look at TNG, you look at Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise, and there are some really awkward episodes that, to this day, still cringeworthy. Maybe that's just the case, and maybe this is about getting better, and the writers seem to be getting a little more on track. I felt like the season premiere was more like Star Trek, and just the way it was shot, the acting in it, there was some stuff in it that I thought was just absurd. I didn't like the descent down to the asteroid with the pods flying around. I thought that was just ridiculous. They have to find every little moment to insert some action in it. It reminded me of Into Darkness, where Khan and Kirk are flying around in those jetpacks to the other spaceship, and it was like, it was just inserting an action scene in there for no reason, just to get the audience, to wake them up and get them invested in the show, when they could have used that time as a storytelling arc and invest more in the characters and the story. But they have to insert this stupid scene where they're flying around in these pods. The scene itself is all right, like it's good, but why? I mean, couldn't the Discovery have found a better way to get down to the ship? And I mean, like, on that ship that was crashing the asteroid, that woman that was on there was using all the ship's resources to keep those crew members alive, but the Discovery can't put extra power into beaming them down or to find another route down there. Instead, they have to take these crazy pods. I mean, it didn't make any sense. So I didn't like that. I didn't like that they had shoehorned that in. I didn't like the science officer from the Enterprise. I thought that his character was not funny. Basically, he was this bully and a jerk that they had on there, and he was just really obnoxious. And, instead of sort of going into a little more about him and sort of having a story arc with him of him getting improved, or improving his character, they just killed him off because it was sort of like, well, he's going to get his comeuppance anyway. What was the point of that? What was the point of putting him in there? Because all he's doing is he's not following orders, and he's bossing people around, and he's being an idiot. And then they're like, okay, we'll kill him off, and that'll be satisfaction for the audience. It was just, it didn't seem like he fit. And why would they put a man who is essentially a bully as a high-ranking officer? Why would he be promoted in Starfleet as that? In Starfleet, a man that acts like that, who's obnoxious and just doesn't follow orders because he's an asshole, would never be promoted in Starfleet. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I know that there's been some characters in the Prime timeline that have been the same way. But I'm just saying that there's no way that a man like this, if Starfleet operated the way it's supposed to operate, would never promote a man like that in that position. Michael Burnham, I have a real problem with this character. Even throughout the first season, she is clearly a Mary Sue. She does nothing wrong. It seems like she can do anything. She's like the superhero in the show. And she just feels to me like a spoiled brat who just fucks everything up and then somehow gets out of it by solving the problem and saving the day. And then, and then there's really no consequences for her. Other than the only thing that I really liked is when she got punished by Starfleet for mutiny. And in the first pilot episode, she attacks her captain, and makes the stupidest decision I've ever seen in Star Trek. It leads to the Klingon War, and perhaps that was building up over time anyway, but, I don't know. She has rubbed me the wrong way through this whole show. I don't like her. To me, she is a Mary Sue, and what seems to be just like this spoiled brat who seems to get her way all the time and ends up being the hero at the end of the day. At times comes off as completely clueless and seems to outsmart everybody and comes up with all the answers, making everybody look like a bunch of idiots. So it's, Michael Burnham is somebody who I hope that they cast aside eventually. Either that or they improve her character, because it's just, her character for me is not likable. And, if you even look at Tom Paris and Voyager, he was considered a rebel. He was considered somebody who challenged the status quo. But, he wasn't this perfect character. He wasn't a superhero. He wasn't, I don't know what the word is for Mary Sue for a male, but he wasn't a Mary Sue. He had flaws. He earned things. He was honorable, and he was accepted for that. He wasn't, he wouldn't come in as the savior at the end of the day after he fucks everything up. My favorite character right now is Saru in the series. I really like him. He's definitely been a standout since the beginning. I was kind of on the fence with the short trek that he was in. I think that he is one of the standouts in the show. Although, I don't know why he keeps getting cast aside and not, and Starfleet doesn't make him captain, because he should be the captain of the Discovery. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be. Obviously, they brought Pike in there to get the fans interested. And, again, Saru's being pushed aside because Captain Pike's coming in. Although, at the end of the episode, he said he's finished his mission. But he's going to remain as captain on the ship, I guess. I don't know. Why is he staying on the Discovery? I don't know. It just feels like he's there to get the audience back into the show. Tilly has been was a little overwhelming in this episode. I really like her. I think that she's been really good in all the episodes that she's been in. I loved what they did with the Mirror Universe with her, and I love the Mirror Universe episodes. I thought it was very well done, and I hope that they tone her down a bit. There's even a joke in there where Stammen says, you gotta talk less. But I like her. I really like what they've done with her. I really like Sarek, Spock's father. I love what they've done with that character. And from the first season, I loved Lorca. I thought Lorca was awesome in it. I loved his arc that he had. I think he had probably the best arc in the series so far. I really do hope that Lorca returns in some way. I hope that they also do a lot more of the visual shots of the Discovery flybys and getting into the Discovery, going to different planets, discovering new civilizations, just like what Star Trek is. Instead of all these, these action-adventure type stuff, let's get away from that. You can sprinkle things in here and there, but Star Trek is an exploration show. It's about going to planets, exploring, and getting deeply invested in character stories and mysteries. And that's what Star Trek is. You know, it's not a popcorn movie. It's not an action piece. It's an intellectual, political, social, and a commentary with philosophy. I think that the writers need to shift more towards what Berman did and Michael Piller in the 90s with Star Trek. So we'll see how it goes, and I will do another video to review the next episode of Star Trek Season 2. And this episode, you know, and I'll just say that I really hope that they don't spend the whole season looking for Spock. And I think that, you know, it's cool that Spock's in it and Pike is in it, you know, but it's just something to get the fans interested. I really hope that this season does well, and this episode was really good. I thought it was better than the pilot itself, because the pilot was an absolute mess. And I really hope that the series gets better, because I think we all want that. I think as Star Trek fans, we want it to be good and we want to love the show. And, you know, we can only hope that it gets better. And that's all we can really do. So guys, that's all I really have to say about that. I think the show was good. And I would rate it maybe like a 7 out of 10. And yeah, like hopefully the shows get better as the season progresses and becomes more and more like Star Trek. I think that this episode felt more like Star Trek, but there's still a lot of issues with it. We'll see where they take us next. I don't know what this business is with the Red Angels, but hopefully it's not too bad and it's actually some good stuff. Alright guys, let me know what you thought about the episode Brother, the season premiere of Season 2 of Discovery. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are your thoughts on Discovery so far? Does it feel like Star Trek to you, or does it not feel like Star Trek? And what are your hopes for the series? And also with the Picard series and the animated series that they're planning. Alright guys, if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you check out some more of my videos. Keep it locked on the Andrew K channel.
Maximum warp. Punch it. Headed.
Sure what's wrong here.
Is the parking brake on?
No. I'll figure it out. I'm just...
Have you disengaged the external inertial dampener?
Ready for warp, sir.
Let's punch it.